So hello students, we are completing the second chapter of the NCERT of the class 12 standard history. So first portion, already the first part that has been uploaded. If you are new to this channel, if you are new to this video, first of all go and read the part 1. After that come to this video. Okay, so yesterday we were talking about the Murshid Kulikhan. So as already we have discussed about him, Murshid Kulikhan is the founder of the, you can say, the Nawab system, or you can say the Nawab lineage in Bengal. So as we have already discussed, as he was a very able ruler, he was a great administrator. He ruled Bengal from 1717 to 1727. Meanwhile, he curbed all types of whatever the disturbance was going on there, chaos was there. There were many petty nobles and the zamindars who were rebellious in nature. So he somehow he has controlled everyone, and already we have discussed that he has introduced some new reform systems. If we talk about the farming, or if we talk about in the field of agriculture, as he has introduced the takavi. Already we have discussed earlier that takavi was a loan that is given by the ruler or the administrator to those farmers who are underprivileged or who are in needs, so that they can go ahead in their agriculture field and they can go for their crops, and once it is harvested, then they can repay that loan. So that was the takavi. And already we have I have told you that takavi was introduced by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, that is MBT, before, and later it was implemented by the Murshid Kulikhan. As well as he has introduced the revenue farming. Revenue farming is the farming where a revenue collector is appointed, who had the responsibility that he had to collect the revenue from the farmers and the peasants, and then he has to deposit that revenue in the treasury of the king. So already we have discussed all these things. After that, his son-in-law, that Shujauddin, he became the next Nawab of Bengal. But mind it, virtually they were independent, means virtually what I mean to say, that they never openly said that we are independent of the Mughal Empire, but in practice they were free. Okay, so after that, Shujauddin, he became the Nawab, that from 1727 to 1739. He was also an able ruler. After that, Sarfaraz Khan came. Sarfaraz Khan was the son of Shujauddin, but he was killed by the Alwardi Khan, who was the Subedar of Bengal at that time. So he was killed in the Battle of Giria that took place in 1739-1740. There's no confirmation about the date. In some books I find it 1739, and in some books I got 1740. So there's that date is not important. What is important, that is the Battle of Giria. So you should keep all these things in mind. So finally Sarfaraz Khan was killed by Alwardi Khan in 1740, or you can say 1739, and finally this Alwardi Khan became the new Nawab of Bengal. Okay, now if a 3 marker comes, or if 50 words question comes about the Alwardi Khan, then you should know some content about him. You should have some knowledge and fact related to him, so that you can write down very smoothly. So Alwardi Khan, he was also an able administrator. He was a warrior. He was a great thinker. He has a quality of a great king. So first of all, what he did, he sent 2 crore rupees to Muhammad Shah Rangila, who was the emperor, who was the Mughal emperor at that time, so that he can get official acceptance from the Mughals that he is the Nawab of Bengal. So finally he got that acceptance, and he during his region, this Marathas, they invaded Bengal 5 times. How many times? 5 times. So finally what happened, he understood that this is not a right way to remain engaged always in war. So finally he signed a treaty with Marathas. The leader was Raghuji, and finally there was a peace treaty between these Marathas and this Bengal Nawab of Bengal, or you can say Alwardi Khan. Okay, and at the same time he had to submit, he had to give this the chauth to Raghuji, or you can say Maratha. You know, when we talk about Marathas, there were two types of revenue. One was Sardeshmukhi and one was Chauth. Okay, so Chauth was 1/4 part of the total revenue and Sardeshmukhi was 1/10 part of the total revenue. Beside this, he, as I told you, he was a good king, so that's why he knew that if we want to rule smoothly, if we want to give good administration, then law and order should be very powerful. So that's why he has you know, founded, or he has a system of regular thana and chowkis, so that the law and order of the state will be remain strong or in a good hands. Okay, and beside this, he had a strict control over the foreign companies and on the officials, so that no one can misuse the privilege that had been given to them. So that's why now you can understand he had a vision, he was a good ruler. That's why, you know, he ruled from 1740 to 1756. And now we won't go into depth because this is not here in your chapter, but two things you should keep in mind, that after that, as you know, Siraj-ud-Dawla became the Nawab of Bengal, but you know, he was killed in the Battle of Plassey in 1757. And Battle of Plassey was not a war, more than a war, you can say it was a conspiracy. It was a conspiracy between English people and some corrupt officials of this Siraj-ud-Dawla. Okay, so corruption was very high, bribery was very high, and finally, you know, these corrupt peoples, or you can say the corrupt officials of this Siraj-ud-Dawla, they sold this Siraj-ud-Dawla at the hands of the English people. So whenever we will discuss about the Battle of Plassey, then we will discuss it in detail. Now we won't go at depth. And after that, you know, he was killed, and the Jackal of Clive, you know, during the Battle of Plassey, there was two sides. From one, Siraj-ud-Dawla was there, it was the Nawab of Bengal, and the other side were English, and the command of English was in the hands of Robert Clive. So, you know, later he was made Nawab, and this Mir Jafar was known as the Jackal of Clive. And after that, they were not satisfied, because already this English people, they have plundered or they have looted everything from the Bengal. The treasury was, you know, was damaged, or you can say there was no money left in the treasury. And finally, when they were not satisfied with this Mir Jafar, so they asked him to get down of the throne, and finally again they made this person Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim was the son-in-law of Mir Jafar, and he became the new Nawab. But again, they were not satisfied with him, as well as Mir Qasim was an ambitious ruler. He knew very well what are the ambitions of the East India Company, and he wanted to overthrow him. And before that he could do anything, finally there was a Battle of Buxar. There was a triple alliance, and at one side there was triple alliance, and the other side was the English. So the triple alliance, as you know, there was a Shah Alam. Shah Alam was the Mughal emperor, and after that there was a Shuja. One was this Mir Qasim, and third was that the Nawab of Awadh. We will discuss it later. Why I am going to tell you all these things? Because you should know in depth what were the blunders, what were the shortcomings, how this English people became so powerful, how did they occupy every powerful state. Okay, so there were some general weakness and the loopholes, and these rulers, they didn't pay heed, or they didn't pay attention. That's why this English got an opportunity to strengthen themselves in every way, either it was economically or politically or in terms of power or military, everything. So what were the major blunders that you should keep in mind? You know, they knew very well that after 1707, after the death of the Aurangzeb, this East India Company had a tendency to use military power or to threaten someone to get their demand fulfilled. Okay, so this was the tendency of East India Company. Though these Nawabs were you can say they knew about this tendency very well, but still they didn't take any step to curtail such ambitions. Because at that time these Nawabs were more powerful as compared to the East India Company. They could have uprooted at the East India Company at very initial stage, but they failed to do that. So that was one of the major blunder, and finally that's why this is also one of the reason why we became colony of English people. Okay, after that they had, as we have discussed earlier, though they had the power to deal with the company, but they ignored. Okay, why? Now the question arises, why they ignored? They ignored because they had no contact with the outer world. Outer world means what this English they have done in the Carnatic battle, what these English were doing in the South India, as well as they had no knowledge how this English has occupied America, how they have destroyed many states of Africa as well as East Asian country, because they had no contact with the outer world. If they had some contact with the outer world, then they could have imagined, or they could have a knowledge how dangerous these English people are. But because of this lack of contact or lack of knowledge, they were not able to judge the strength as well as the ambition of those English people. Is it clear? Okay, so now on the other hand, if we talk, these Nawabs of Bengal neglected to build a strong army. What they thought that they didn't need any strong army, a big army, because they thought, because already they are virtue, because somewhere they were under the flag, they were working under the flag of these Mughals, as well as they knew there's no such big rivals. But what was the main big rivals were these English people. As for example, if I give you, it is written in your book that Murshid Kulikhan, that he had just 2,000 cavalry and 4,000 infantry. Okay, you must be knowing what is cavalry. Cavalry are those soldiers, mounted soldiers, either they are on horse or camels or anything, elephants, and this infantry means those soldiers who walk on their foot. Okay, so, and most important thing, as you can understand from this, because they neglected to build a strong army, that's why this is also one of the reasons why Siraj-ud-Dawla lost the war. Though there was the big reason was the conspiracy and the corruption, but his army was also, it was not disciplined, it was very small in number. That was also one of the reasons. They failed to check the growing corruption among their officials. Okay, so this was also one of the major reasons why if we go through history of India, there are several incidents when a king or ruler lost the war, or he lost his name because of some of these corrupt officials. Means corruption were there, but they were not able to curtail it. So this was also one of the main reasons behind why these Nawabs of Bengal finally they vanished. Okay, why? Because they were not able to grow. They were not able to check the growing corruption among their officials, because these East India Company, they were misusing their dastak, they are misusing their privileges, because these officials, they used to take some bribe, and in return they used to just close their eyes. So whatever that was going on, whatever these East India Company was doing, they were not paying attention, and they were not informing all those misdeeds to the emperor. The most important example from there you can get from in this war, as you know, the commander this Siraj-ud-Dawla was on the side of the East India Company. But if we talk about the Treaty of Alinagar, that was of Calcutta, the Treaty of Alinagar, that was between Siraj-ud-Dawla and the East India Company, when Siraj-ud-Dawla had captured this fort of Calcutta, Fort William, and they have this Siraj-ud-Dawla, he had captured the Fort William, and what happened, he moved back to his capital. But when East India Company came, and East India Company gave some bribe to that person, the name of that person was Manik Chand. Okay, yeah, Manik Chand. They gave some bribe to Manik Chand, and finally the Manik Chand gave the key of that fort to those East India Company. So these are some of the examples how corruption was on a big number or big deal, or it was very intense or great corruption was there, but these rulers were not able to control the corruption. So this was also one of the reason behind what were the main blunders that was done by these Nawabs of Bengal, and even by the other rulers of other state also. And this is how this English people got opportunity to strengthen themselves, and finally they became the superpower, the super boss of India. Okay, now we talk about Awadh. Okay, now Awadh, you will get the spelling also, Audh also, Oudh. So